Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join Carl and frequent co-host Hollis Lewis as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee, where we dive into and attack. Sometimes, I think, Hollis, we attack some issues and have some disagreements, which is always pretty good. We are proudly sponsored by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. You can visit Frank Walker at FrankWalkerLaw.com for more information, and you can catch all of our shows on Sunday at 1 o'clock and Thursday at 7 p.m. on 580 WCHS. If you miss any of the episodes, you can go to WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk and listen to it online. You can follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk with Carl Lee for updates and more. So today's show, we have a gentleman that I know from way back in the day in high school. Was a baseball player. One of the interesting things to me was he was one of the first black baseball players that I saw that played at South Charleston High School. He was a all-state player, 78, 70, was it Ty? And well, let me just bring you in, Ty. Let me bring you in.
Okay.
Tyrone Hall.
Yeah.
How are you doing, my brother?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good, brother, man. Hello, everybody, West Virginia, man. Love you guys. Yeah, I was South Charleston High. Actually, I from 76, 77, 78, graduating 78, but I played baseball as All-State 77 and 78.
And one of the things that, well, let me make sure that you know my co-host is Hollis Lewis.
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Hey, how you doing?
All right,
how you doing?
I coached Hollis I coached Hollis at West Virginia State. Super successful brother here in the state of West Virginia. He's doing all the little political stuff and being great at it. So I'm super proud of him and
appreciate that.
And he is he's a great guy, even though on this show we tend to fight. So yeah. Trust me, if you go back, I know you have been talking about trying to go back and check some of the episodes. You will catch us doing some kind of fighting, some kind of disagreement, because that's and at the end of the day, that's the enjoyment of the show.
Gotta love that.
All right, so let's jump into this topic that can always be a little, I guess, can always be a little bit of a touchy feeling for some folks. But there's been this conversation, this talk about the decline of black athletes, black baseball players at the professional ranks. I think it's like a 6 or 7%. It's down from like 15.
I think it was high as 30 at one point.
At one point, as Hollis is saying, it was 30%, and it's dropping. And but when you go back, Ty, tell me some of it was low, super low numbers back in the day. So tell me kind of a little bit about what your experience was as one of the few black baseball players. And let's start with your high school at South Charleston High School. How was that? Because you were good, and I remember you playing and all of that. Tell me, did you feel any of that, or what was happening?
You know, man, to be honest, at that time, I have to go back, even before high school for me when it comes to baseball, because as you know, as we grew up, Carl, I mean, it was a love, man, that you had for that game early on, where I played Little League and Babe Ruth and played high school. You just had that love for the game, and it's just sad to see where it's at today. It really is. But in high school, you know, I when we played baseball, I mean, let's take a look at this. I was the only black guy on my high school team. And at that point in time, now, even though we were a powerhouse baseball team at that time, and coming from South Charleston, as well as, all the other sports, we performed well then as well. But, it's just sad to see where it's at and where it's going. And I did build that, no doubt about it, in many ways. Various places I went to play and things of that nature. Being black was something that, it was tough. You go into communities that you hear that N-word, but we would just overlook that and just play ball. But it's just, for me, looking at the numbers and where baseball is at today, because right now, and I live out in Seattle, Washington, I've gotten involved with baseball. And, it was a hot topic for me because I don't see many African-American players out in the sport today. And I'm talking Little League, and I coach out here. And
what levels have you coached at? You mentioned Little League. Have you coached at the high school level or?
I have coached not at the high school level. Mm-hmm. Actually, I coached, and the reason I did this, I think for me, why it's so important, man. This game is established early on in the hearts of little children, and I'm talking ages 8, 9, 10, 11, like it was for me. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to get involved with Little League and Babe Ruth baseball. Now they call it select baseball, and high school level select baseball. I did coach a select team out here that was high school level, but not in the high school. Mm-hmm. And and one of the things that's always puzzled me I would always say to myself, where are the black athletes? Where are they at?
Now, let me ask you this. Do you think it's because of the Little League programs moving out of the inner cities and being more travel ball as opposed to, community baseball?
There is no doubt about it to me. No doubt about it. And what I mean by that is, they say when you ask people this question, they say, well, most kids nowadays, they sit behind a little computer. They want to, if they play any sports, they're going to play basketball, play football. They want to be like LeBron James or Carl Lee or, some of the guys, some of the greats, that's out here today. But the truth of the matter is no one is going into these inner city communities and helping these kids to recruit these guys, come out in these communities like they did when I grew up. Because the love is still there. These kids still want to play. Trust me, they want to play. If you think about it, baseball is a summer sport pretty much. Yeah. We're back where we were from because we had the four seasons. You don't play a lot of baseball back in December, January, February, but the warmer months. So you think about kids back at home where I came up from, out of South Charleston, West Virginia. In the summertime, man, we had nothing else to do at growing up. So baseball was huge for us. I mean, getting outside, playing baseball all day long. And so, to me, it starts there. And and not only there, and this is what I see, guys. And I've traveled all over the world. I remember going overseas and help starting a baseball program over there. There was no black kids in baseball. And I've traveled all over the place out here playing Little League and select baseball. They're just not available, and I don't know the answer to that. Well, but I noticed that.
Well, let me ask you this, because I know that I recently heard something that as far as Major League Baseball, their investment into Latin America, where they're making these, building these huge complexes and facilities and making these investments. Yes. And a question was posed to why isn't Major League Baseball making those same investment into inner city youth baseball programs?
Yeah, that's a great point. Matter of fact, I did back in the day when I was coaching, and I read up on some things, and you're right about that, because there's a program they call it RBI.
Okay.
One of the things, it's called RBI. It's called Reviving Baseball in the Inner City. within the inner city. But these programs, this program RBI was international as well. So that it looked good on the behalf of the sponsors or the people putting this information out there, but there was no action steps, man. And we know action steps are required. And that's why when you go into the communities, nobody's even ever heard of it.
I'm sorry, Ty. One of the interesting components to me is you can pretty much go find a football field just about anywhere that you can go work out. You can do that.
Yeah.
Baseball fields anywhere close to an inner city, is that a thing? Like, because to me, I'm going to make the case, if you want me to be involved in something, you got to put the platform in my community.
Yes. Carl, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's one of the problems that I ran into a lot when I would put together a team, because I worked at community centers and things out here just to go in these communities to help out with youth, and when we try to put a team together, we try to find a field to play on. There's no field to play on. We'd have to go miles away just to do a pickup baseball game. And I'm talking like 30 miles away. We may find some field that's empty that we can go in that's not locked up, that's not has a lock and key or that locks out, and we'd have to jump the freaking fence to get these kids out there just so we can go and play pickup baseball, because all the organized fields, even out here, were controlled. And I remember several times we're being kicked off the field. Now, I'm just taking kids out with me just to play the game, because, again, it's even in the little leagues out here, it's so controlled.
Let me ask you this. As far as being like a little league coach, baseball coach, I know out here one of the major issues is that a lot of kids, they're not like 3 and 4 sport athletes. Like, obviously when we were kids, a lot of kids, they play basketball year round, or they play football and basketball half the year. So coming up, what was the effects of, or coming up as a coach, what has been the effects of like AAU basketball and like these, people concentrating on one sport and not giving baseball just a try or a chance?
Yeah, because I think we waited. To me, I think the problem with that is that we waited too long to try to reach these kids with these programs.
That's a good point.
Just think about that for a second. Now these kids have settled in. I mean, they've kind of given up on baseball because no one's tried to reach them. And I mean, I'm talking years ago. So now when you go in and talk to a kid or a parent of these kids about baseball, there hasn't been an interest there because it's been that way for so long. And this is why we're seeing the decline in the leagues. And I'm not just talking the MLB. Look at the college teams. Look at the high school teams. You can just keep going all from there. I mean, it really is, because we've turned our eyes away from the inner city, as if these kids are not interested or if these kids can't play. And we know that's not true.
Well, let me ask this question, because I wonder about this. A lot of times, like, my role model is, ever I've said 1,000 times, 100,000 times, it was Robert Alexander. So because he was a football player, has professional baseball, has collegiate baseball, high school baseball, even giving, are they celebrating that black baseball player enough to make kids want to play? I mean, because you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm playing youth baseball and I'm 7, 8 years old, I don't know if I got to see somebody that I want to be like, because everybody says, oh, I want to be like him. Or everybody's running around saying, oh, I'm Robert Alexander. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that doesn't feel like that's a thing to me in baseball, or it's not celebrated. The black baseball players, the great black baseball players, while they may get in the Hall of Fame, I don't know if it trickles down to these kids across the country to say, I want to be like Hank Aaron.
Yeah, Carl, that's such a good point, because think about that for a second. I remember as a kid, one of the things that really inspired me was the guys who came way before me, that I used to sit around and watch and listen to my dads and my uncles and people talk about, was Jackie Robinson, Babe Ruth. I mean, not Babe Ruth, but Hank Aaron, and Willie Mays. I used to go out and make those Willie Mays catches. I'd have people throwing the ball over my head, and I'd go out into a field and catch the ball over my head. Just several times. That's all I would do. Just throw it over my head. I'll catch it backwards. I'd practice that because you had these guys ahead of you wanted to be like. And there were many of them. There's many of them that was in the forefront of the young black kids. You're right. Today, that's not so. But it is that way in the NBA. It's that way in the NFL. For some reason, that is no longer the case. And I really don't have the answer to that.
So let me ask you this, just as far as your experience as a coach, how do we start to make that outreach? How do we, get kids interested in the game again? We
got to get players. Look here, I think, it's sad to say, but I think from the 60s up until the 80s, I believe, the league, if you look at, we had maybe out of all the players on on an MLB roster, I think there's maybe like 780, maybe 790 players. Back in the day, it was close to 30% of those players were of black players. Now, I think that's down less than 6%. So we have to find those players, and these guys got to give back, man. I mean, you got to, and there's players out there that's trying to do that. I know CC Sebastian, he was a pitcher for the Yankees. Yeah. He's giving back. Derek Jeter, he's getting involved. It's these big name players that we have to contact. Say, hey man, come on, get on board with this, because it's such a rich American sport, not just in America, but in our community that's been lost, and it's such a shame. Because I think out of the players right now, and I think if you take less than 6% of the players out of 780 players, I think you come up with like 40, 44, 45 players total.
That's crazy.
MLB, man. And that is absolutely crazy. And some of those may be even considering from other nationalities, like, different places other than the United States. So this is where it starts. And we have got to focus. It starts, man, with your first love as a kid, man. And we got to get these kids involved.
So what would you say to parents, though? So what would be your plea to parents to this end?
Hey, my plea to parents is get them out of the house. Get them out of the house, man. In the summertime, this is why it's so easy for these kids to get involved in the wrong things rather than the right things, because they're sitting around and they're doing nothing. If they're not playing football, not playing basketball, baseball's a summer sport. Kids are out of school, but they have no place to go. They can't. There's no facilities out there just for them to go play at, or no one's reaching these kids in the community. And I was doing some research on this RBI program, and it sounds great. They even have it out here, and Nike's one of the bigger sponsors of this now as well too. But how far reaching is this program, and what is it doing? And I don't see it out here. I haven't seen it out here. I go to all these games all the time because I love the sport, and I love giving back to younger kids, especially when I find a kid that really wants to play. And there's every now and then you'll find that, and you want to just help that kid to advance and to get placement on some team somewhere, because if they don't, there's no place to play. These teams today, even in Little League, I mean, it's so hard. You only have so many players they can pick up on this team, and you're looking at maybe 15 kids on this one team, but you may have 30 kids that come out and play. So a lot of the kids on the team, these parents are well off, or they're selected. They're put on this team automatically. Whereas a little black kid, it's hard for them because now and so much money they got to come out of their pockets with. Matter of fact, up front nowadays, it's not a lot of the equipment and the travel and all the cost that's involved. When you talk to these parents, they'll tell you, we don't have that kind of money, and it's one of the issues that is relevant, and I see it. I come across it quite a bit. And there was a couple of kids. I'd go pick them up, take them to practice, take them back home after practice. We practice every other day, but this is what it was like because people did this for me. I remember people doing this for me when I was a kid because I didn't have a way to the practice. I didn't have a way to the game. I didn't have to pump my bike, get on that little bicycle, and ride to practice, ride to the game every time. And that's because I wanted to play that game so bad. And I'm thankful that I have people like that to do that for me. But I think we need mentorship. And I think we need mentorship of people that play in the sport that give back to this love of the game. Because I think the love is still there. We have to bring it back to our communities. And that's the issue that I see.
Ty, let me ask a question that might be a little bit off subject. Mm-hmm. Tacoma Celebrate Recovery Team, young men. It's a young men's group, age 16 to 25. You're involved in that. Tell us a little bit about what that is, what your goal is from it, and all of that.
Man, I'm involved in a church group out here for many, many years, and it's called Celebrate Recovery. And I picked this group to be involved with because it's from dealing with kids from the age of 16 to 25 years old, struggling out here without any direction, not knowing where they're going, what they're doing. And a lot of times fathers are out of the house and some are in the house, but it's a drug issue. And our main focus is focusing on chemical dependency because you see a lot out here, man. The drugs are these drugs are really bad, and they're targeting these little kids with this fentanyl. And so we offer a place for these kids to come, and once a week we show up every Tuesday, and they can talk about things. And and I'm head of that group, and this group's up to about 30 people. And some of these kids are coming out of programs they've been through the system. They have to show up every week. I sign off, and they go back. And if they don't sign off, if they don't show up, I can't mark them off, and then they can go and they spend time behind bars. So I feel like I wanted to do something to try to help and reach these young kids who have no mentorship. Man, I couldn't imagine coming up. I know, Carl, you know this. Man, we had others over us that always spoke into us, and thank God I was able to listen to some of those people that were ahead of me. So it's my way of giving back with this, what we call Celebrate Recovery. It's dealing with kids that's like they're struggling with chemical dependency, anger issues, and all these things. It gives them a place to come once a week for an hour and a half to talk about it. And we always say what goes on in the group stays within the group. And it allows me to really focus in and try to help those ones that really want to be helped. And that's what it is.
That's a great initiative.
Yeah.
What prompted that? What prompted you? I mean, and let me just say this to the listeners. Ty has always been that guy that kind of marched to his own drum, to the beat of his own drum, but was always a good guy. Always, to me, doing the right thing. And it's so in a way, it doesn't surprise me that you would do that, but I'm just trying to figure out, like, what was it that you saw a kid? It was somebody that you saw that was in bad shape. What motivated you to get into that, the whole recovery part of it? What prompted that? Yeah,
for me, it was one of the things. Like I said, I'm a church-going guy, and I would see people come in. And I was a coach for years out here, and I think it's born from there. First of all, from coaching, because I would see kids that would show up that were not available. Even though they're there, they're not there.
Right.
And I can tell, man, from the experience of traveling all over the world. I was in the military. I've seen a lot, experienced a lot, and I've seen kids, you can tell when someone's struggling, man, when someone's being, that's just having a hard time in life and really just giving up on themselves and not believing of anything that can happen to them that's good. But what I did notice about this is that as when I was coaching at that level, especially at that high school level, it was hard to get these kids to open up about their lives and what they're doing. And, they couldn't play high school baseball because they didn't have the grades or sports. Having that, and I would just start talking to them, man, just being there for them and listening. I just wanted to be somebody to put a hand on their shoulder and just listen to them and tell them how much I care about them and invite them to this program. And from there, that's where it come from to me, because I felt like I had that in my life, and I felt that I could help someone. And I feel like I can give this back to, I feel like this is why I'm here. We're here for a purpose. It's not just to live this great life, but we're here to give back, man. If you can change a life, even if it's just one, that makes a huge difference in our society. And this is what it really boils down to, and so that's where it was born from. And inviting people, have them to bring their friends, because there's many people that they know that's in the same boat that they're in. And that's what would happen. And it continued from there.
All right. Well, my last question is you and I grew up. We were close friends.
Yes.
We had we did a lot of good stuff, bad stuff together.
Man.
When you
they can't be telling everything.
No, I ain't gonna tell it. I ain't gonna let it out. I'll just let them have to figure out what we did or where we did it at, because somebody might be a result of it. So I ain't even gonna go there. Let me ask the question though, because I'm wondering, and we didn't talk in detail about this, and I don't want to go too far into it, but when you look back now. And you realize that Robert Alexander is gone, Alan Hawkins is gone. Those were guys that we would be around, and were definitely part of your time. How does that reflect on you? What do you do? I know, I'm sure they come across your mind every now and then.
Yeah.
What does that do for you? Because I can make the case for me, man. It's a blessing to still be here, but it is hard to think that the guy that did all this for me from a mental and physical piece is gone. And then Alan was just a fun-loving guy that had a great laugh, and now those guys are gone, and they were part of the neighborhood.
Oh man, you're really touching on some stuff now, because if oh my gosh, we talked before, Carl. As well as I know, man, we grew up with some of the best dudes ever. In our communities, our families, and they were just so real, so authentic, and transparent about their lives.
Yeah,
and not only that, but some of the best athletes I've ever seen, no matter where I've been. As well, and we know that. Finally, early on, way before us, people really didn't look back in West Virginia for talent.
No,
back in the days, but they finally explored, and they finally realized, man, there's more talent in there than there is just about anywhere else. Extremely amazing talent that guys have come way before me and you, man, could be great players in the NFL, whatnot. But when it comes to Robert and and Alan and yourself and some of the other guys, man, that we knew, we were so blessed. I can't tell people enough how blessed we were, because it was such a closeness. It was such a brotherhood. It was just amazing, man. You just don't see that anymore. You don't come across it, but it meant so much to me, because Oh my gosh! I mean, it was everything, and it inspired me. It encouraged me to be better. You know, when I came back, man, I was even in high school, man. I was probably a $125 at the best. You know, $125, man, with an afro, man, big old afro, and but I could play that game. You know, I could play baseball, play basketball, I didn't play football, but you know, but I was so proud, man. So proud of where we came from in that same area, man. You know, as I know, with how many great people, how many great athletes, man, we came across, but just great people. And then with Robert being gone and Alan being gone, it shook me. It really shook me. And you know, but you know, I'm extremely thoughtful of these things and thankful, man, of everything that we've had and we experienced.
All right. Well, my brother, we're gonna jump off of here and take a quick break. I truly appreciate you coming on, man. And I'm again glad we got back in touch, and I'm sure we'll be chatting going down the road.
Love you, man. I just want to say, man, I know this guy, man. If you are listening to this podcast, man, stay with it, man. Share it with other people because this guy is so legit. He's always been someone who has always inspired others to be better than themselves. And I'm so proud of you for the voice that you have back there and all the great things you accomplished, man, but you're a better person than even all of that. So I'm just so proud of you. I love you, brother. Can't wait to catch up with you when you come out to Seattle. Now, I'm saying you got to come out here sometime.
And I'll come. I'll come.
Come on now. Come on.
All right.
And but when I get back that way, you're the first person I'm going to look up, man.
Sounds good, man.
Hug that neck, man. I can't wait to hug that neck. Tell the family I said hello. Love you guys, man. Keep doing what you're doing, brother. Okay.
Appreciate it, man. Love you too.
All right. Thanks, man.
All right, guys.
Yep. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Find previous episodes of Let's Talk at WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Want to give another shout out to our sponsor, Frank Walker Law. Real talk, real experience, real results. And for more information, you can email him at frankwalkerlaw.com. Hollis, I enjoyed that conversation with my boy, and I know that you have a couple of other things that you wanted to get in. So shoot them out to me.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to say, like, that's such an important conversation as far as, like, how do we just expand Major League Baseball? Because I know even myself growing up, I was a fan, and, you know, I looked up to, like, Eric Davis, Darryl Strawberry, and the likes. But kind of moving forward, now ESPN, they released their top 100 professional athletes since the year 2000. So these are just their top professional. These are number one professional athletes, and just since the year 2000. Now, again, when we say athlete, right? I know we talked about this prior. Are we talking just in its, you know, in its most basic, most Webster Dictionary term, when we say athlete, or do we mean athletic, or are we just talking about somebody who plays a professional sports? And how do are we ranking this on, like, or our thoughts, like, on the dominance of that person in said sport, or just their athletic ability playing that sport? How do you process it and think about that?
My first thought as you were talking, this came to my mind. You as a former athlete, me as a former athlete, when you say the most athletic, that's different than being a good athlete or even a great athlete in your sport.
Yeah, just a pro athlete.
Just a pro athlete.
Okay.
There's a whole lot of pro athletes that don't necessarily or shouldn't necessarily qualify as athletic.
Okay. Yeah, I like
See
that.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I like that. That's a nuance.
And here's the two divisions I'm going to give you. I am 100% sure that Tom Brady is on that list.
For sure.
I'm 100% sure that Randy Moss is on that list.
Yeah.
Now, when you start talking about best athlete,
there's no question.
That's Randy Moss. There's no question that no one's going to even try to compare Tom Brady as an athlete.
Not close.
Or athlete or athletic.
Yeah.
Great quarterback.
Athletic. I like that term.
Athletic.
Like
he's an athlete.
He's an athlete for sure.
Great. I'm going to make the case the GOAT as a quarterback.
And I would agree.
And so, but if you're trying to rank him as an athlete, no.
Yeah. Okay. So for this list, we're just going to say professional athlete, just somebody who was dominated, somebody who was
in
good
their sport,
in their particular sport. Now, again, that becomes a little bit hard to rank, but we're going to go to top 10. So at number 1, they got Michael Phelps, swimmer. Number 2, they got Serena Williams. Number 3, they got Lionel Messi, soccer. At number 4, they got LeBron James. Number 5 is Tom Brady. Number 6 is Roger Federer, just tennis. Number 7 is Simone Biles, gymnastics. Number 8 is Tiger Woods, golf. Number 9 is Usain Bolt, track. And number 10 is Kobe Bryant, basketball. Now, since the year 2000, I just read you the names. Who do you think is missing? Who would you pit in that top 10 that's not there? How would you adjust that? Easy.
I'm home based.
Yeah.
Randy Moss.
You putting Randy Moss in that top 10?
Athlete,
professional athlete. But see, again, we're not saying the most athletic. We're saying dominated at their professional.
Yes, I'm still putting him in. But and here's my thing. In that list, one of the things that I caught in the list as you were naming them was a lot of those were single sports.
Okay.
Individual sports.
Usain Bolt.
Yes.
Simone Biles. You had you had 2 Serena and Roger Federer tennis players. Yeah, you're right.
You see what I'm saying?
And Michael Phelps swimmer.
Right. Part of that is because now, as an individual athlete, you're performing. So you're as athletic as anybody in your sport because you're winning.
Okay.
Now, when you start talking about a teamwork, could Randy Moss be great without a great quarterback? Yes. I'm thinking he could.
I mean, he was.
He was.
Yeah.
It wouldn't make any difference who he had. He's going to show up on the field.
Well, I think it makes some difference. I mean, we got to the Raiders. That was kind of a whole mess in itself. But
he was also a little bit older.
Okay.
At that time too.
No, that was before he went to the Patriots.
Oh well, yeah.
So
okay. So I'll concede that. Concede that.
So that quarterback kind of matters a little bit.
It does, but again, in the team sports, in a team sport, it does kind of require you to have assistance to get there, to be in that top tier.
Yeah.
And in that top 10, who did you have that was there a team sport guy or lady in
there
any
was
of that?
A couple. It was like I said, you had LeBron James, Tom Brady, and Kobe Bryant.
Okay.
And Messi.
Okay, so my question really is to this list. Is this list just the best basketball, best football, best soccer, best
professional
swim?
athlete.
I know, but I'm just saying, any one of those sports, who's the best? Are they just saying this athlete in this sport is the best ever or athletic?
Well, I don't see this.
So you want to take athletic?
I don't think they're saying these are the best athletes, like the most athletic people of all time. That's not. They're just saying. I think what this list is saying is like, number one, who's the best athlete as far as who's the most dominant, who's the most game changing in their particular sport. Because what this and I'll say who I think should be on this list. Number one, I would have Usain Bolt way higher.
Yep.
Because he's number 9 on this list. I don't know how you witnessed that, who was so dominant in the 100 and 200. I mean, this guy would, with 10 meters left, be looking back jogging. He was absolutely dominant as a sprinter. And who I would add to this list, and I don't see how you can't add this, you got to add Floyd Mayweather. I just don't see how you don't have Floyd Mayweather in the top 10. He's the most decorated, one of the most decorated fighters in history. He was totally dominant in his sport, and I just don't know how you don't have him in the top 10.
You do have to have him.
Yeah, he's like number 25 on the list.
Yes, and again, what bothers me about the list, okay, is truly like we're trying to narrow down what we think the list is, right? Which is the person, the best athlete in a sport. And then once you have it in a sport, where do they rank against the other best player in that sport?
Okay,
you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so when you start doing that, was Tiger Woods better in golf than Roger Federer was in tennis?
Okay, that's a good argument.
You see what I'm saying?
That's a good argument.
And so when you start trying to make those comparisons, the interesting piece to me is if you're going to say, okay, we only are taking the top players in the sport, male or female.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna line them up 1, 2, whatever. Mm-hmm. Well, was LeBron? Is LeBron better? Is he more dominant in basketball than Kobe?
I mean, you got to give it up. And that's another argument I would have. Even LeBron, I mean, being at what they have him at number, what is he, number, let's look here. He's number 4. I mean, number 4, I got you on that, but I mean, he may have to be higher just because of his longevity being that dominant for that long. He's been dominant since day one. He's been the guy since day one, and he really hasn't necessarily slowed down yet.
Michael Phelps, swimmer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely dominated.
He dominated. Every race in swimming, right?
Yeah. But with that, that's only 4 years.
For 4 years.
You know what I'm saying? Again, but does that make it tougher, or does that make it not easier? I won't say easier, but how do we compare that against a LeBron James who had to do it season after season after season?
And I think that,
you see what I'm saying?
I do. I think that matters a whole a bunch. I don't think, now Serena Williams.
Yeah.
I don't have an argument. I don't have an argument with her. Because when you see her at the top of her game, when she came into the whole tennis thing, right? She was dominant. And
the same argument I would have for LeBron James, I would have for Serena, because from day one, they have had the expectation and they fulfilled it and succeeded it, and they kept going and keep going. In LeBron's case,
literally off the radar.
Yeah,
they set a whole nother standard.
Yeah.
I'll make the case for Tom Brady. Set a standard too. That was off the chart.
And see that, and I'm glad you said that, because to me, it made me think. I just don't know if you rank an Olympic athlete over a quote unquote professional athlete again, because is there a more pressure from that Olympic athlete because they only get to do it once every 4 years, right? Or is it like? Or do we rank the consistency of a LeBron James or Tom Brady having to do it season after season after season? Like, which one supersedes the other? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Season after season seems, and how many ever seasons that LeBron has under his belt? Like, I would like to think that is definitely going to be harder. And, when you start talking about somebody who's How old is LeBron now?
He's, I think, 40-ish.
Yeah, he's 40-ish.
Yeah.
And so he's doing this year in and year out, not building up for one big moment.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll make the
case. But is that more pressure? You building up for the one big moment.
And I love the Olympics, and I think me and you both had this conversation. We love the Olympics.
But imagine doing the training you said you do, run up the hills, lifting weights, doing all that, and you got to do that for 3.5 years to get to that
one moment. And
you see what I'm saying? You're doing all, because you can't get lazy, you can't drop off.
And then you can't get there and have a slow start.
You can't get there and have a slow start. You can't mess up.
You can't
because it's just here.
Because now you got to talk about another 4 years. And do you have another 4 years to do that?
Do you have another 4 years? See, that's what I'm saying. Like, so do you rank those Olympic athletes higher or do you lower? Because again, obviously they compete within that 4 years, but the moment is the Olympics. Let's keep it real. Yes,
because they may win and lose during
the World Championships,
all that kind of stuff.
Pan Am
but
Games.
by the time it's Olympic time, bro, they were ready.
That's what it is.
That's what they're going for. Yeah.
And then let's just switch it slightly, because on the list they also have auto racers. So they got Lewis Hamilton, who I think he does the F1. How do you feel about? I mean, should they be on the list?
I don't think so. I don't because that's the. I mean, I'm not taking athletic. I don't know how athletic it is to drive a fast car.
That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know. It takes a skill set.
Yeah,
don't get it wrong.
Okay,
it's a skill set. I don't know if that's athletic.
And with that, are we saying athletic is only a physical thing, or are we saying it's a mental hand-eye core? Because I'm saying, because obviously, I mean, I guess there's some physical things you have to do to prep to be an auto racer, but I would imagine it's more eye awareness, responsive hand-eye thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you. I just
need to get a car racer on.
Yeah, I mean, because we're not trying to downplay car racing. We're just trying to figure out where the numbers and who should be in those numbers.
Yeah.
Because when you put an auto racer in there, when I saw it, when you sent it to me, and I saw that, I was like, I was truly thinking straight athleticism.
Yeah, that's what I think when I hear these lists, but I don't think that's what the people who form these lists are thinking. They're thinking
if they are, they're way off.
They're way off. I don't think, because you can't have Jokic, who plays for the Denver Nuggets. He's not a great athlete, but I would say
Brady is not a great athlete.
Yeah, not a great athlete.
Quarterback. Yeah, the GOAT.
Yeah, but I think they're thinking of where you rank again in your professional sports and how your performance or your domination or you changing the game within your professional sport.
To your point, if with the reality of the training that is required for one performance, basically the Olympics. If you've dominated the Olympics in your field, that's work.
Yeah.
And to me, does that sit you above? I'm working 16, 18 weeks to get ready for, a 16-week season. And okay, that's a lot of work, a lot of running and all that stuff.
But then you get another one.
But I got time. Mm-hmm. I could have an average season and a bad season and a good season.
Or you could just have a bad game or two.
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to, lose that.
You lose it all.
Yeah. And the thing with the Olympics that we didn't discuss is that you're competing against the world. Right. So it's not like, again, I know, sports have gotten more global. You look at the NBA, right? But even with that, you're not necessarily still competing against the world. Right.
Yeah. Because there very well could be an athlete somewhere that could be a running back.
Yeah.
Could be a receiver that we don't know.
Yeah. But even not even taking the hypothetical, there's probably a great swimmer. There's a great ping pong. There's a great track athlete. Far as Olympic standards, that we don't know that person,
right?
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like you have to weigh that as well. And then let me ask you about, they got Barry Bonds on the list at number 38. Now, to me, there was no greater time when we're talking about baseball,
right,
than watching Barry Bonds play. I remember we was at State. We would literally jump out of meetings, go to Gore Hall, and be huddled around the TV in the Commons area to watch Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sosa. So, I mean, when we think of baseball players, right, we don't necessarily think of quote-unquote athleticism like, obviously, like a Ricky Henderson, but we're thinking hand-eye coordination, the ability to perform, like I said, you know, when you don't got a lot of chances.
See, I think, my argument with the list, and again, I know he's a great basketball player, okay? Yeah. And he's in the Hall of Fame, all of that kind of stuff. 14-time All-Star, which is I mean, literally great. Tim Duncan at 16. I don't. It's not that I don't like him, but 16.
You think that's too high?
I think that's too high. Shaq's below him in 17. but Patrick Mahomes is 18.
But okay, with Shaq, you know, maybe he played in the 90s too, and then Mahomes is still kind of bubbling. So maybe, I don't know. I mean, Alex Felix, who dominated as a track and field athlete at the 400, the 800, those races, 200. She's 63. She's the most decorated female track athlete of all time, and she's 63. And then I thought your main problem with the list is that we don't got a Darrelle Revis. We don't got a Ed Reed on the list. Like, how you ain't got those guys?
Darryl Green.
Well, no, this ain't. It's 2000s.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
okay,
we talking 2000s.
Randy Moss is 27. Randy Moss is 27.
Yeah.
27. And again, when you say Randy Moss, I'm saying Randy Moss could do any one of the sport. He could do track. He could do basketball. He could do all of these kinds of things. And 27?
Yeah, man. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I'm gonna make the case if of the football players,
and it ain't a lot of
Peyton
football
Manning's
players.
26.
And bruh, it ain't a lot of football players.
It's not.
They got Brady, they got Aaron Donaldson, they got Rodgers, they got Manning, Moss. Like, it ain't a whole bunch of football players on here. They got Revis. They got Revis is 96. Playing corner and you dominating as a corner? You shut down Randy Moss, Megatron. I don't know.
See, and to me, when you put
they got Ed Reed at 99. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you put Aaron Donald right at 20. Okay, now, but he's a Pro Bowler. He's all those kinds of things, right? Hall of Fame, right? But he's not like that's like. Did he? I mean, how many other players do you know that dominated? That you could say dominated the game bigger than him?
In this era, I would say probably in the 21st century, he would definitely be that guy.
He could be in
for this list.
Yeah, he could be in on the list.
21st century.
I'm just not sure 20 when he can't be 20. Mayweather's 25.
That's what I'm saying.
And Randy Moss is 27.
And that's wild to me. And like I said, look at this. They got Darrelle Revis at 96. They got Ed Reed at 99. And they got Charles Woodson at 100. Like, I don't know how. And again, we are football guys. I get it. But, and I told you a couple weeks ago, playing cornerback or defensive back position in football, particularly in a time where you can't really touch people like that, that athleticism and ability to be great at that position is next level. And I don't know if the writers of this really understood that.
Well, I don't know if they ever really think. I don't know if that's an understandable point. And again, I would love to have this list as the most athletic. Give me the top 50 athletic individuals, male or female.
Okay.
Give me that, because we can say what we want about it's judgmental who's the best baseball player, who's the best hitter, who's the best quarterback, who's the best wide receiver. All those kind of things are questionable, right? And opinionated. But I think when you get, and not saying that the best athletes, because I want that, because I think where Randy Moss is being cheated in this list, he goes to the top. He goes to literally the top tier, no question, top 10, maybe even top 5 of actual athletes on the list.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree with it. And I'm looking at the methodology in which they used to formulate this list. And it wasn't one in which they just asked, a panel or asked a group of individuals, hey, just list out your top 100. It's like they provided these different panels different names, and then they went head to head. And, some of them were, they got to jot down who they thought was this or that. The list started at 260 and then got pared down to 100 individuals. So I don't know, maybe the methodology a little bit questionable as well.
Well, is it, if you ask, and we're running a little bit over, but
yeah.
When you're asked that question, if you were part of that panel, mm-hmm. and you have to have a favorite, there's going to be somebody's name that you know.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going to think that athlete is ranked higher mm-hmm. than maybe somebody else. Again, if it's me, I can't see a list that Randy Moss is not on the top of.
Yeah.
When it comes to athleticism, a sport, being a dominant person in the sport.
For sure. And from day one, too.
Yeah. So there is no issue about being a freshman, a rookie, or none of that kind of stuff. It's like walking in and dominating when you get there.
Yeah, and then even a guy like Allen Iverson's not on the list.
Yes.
That's kind of, they got Jason Kidd on the list, but don't got Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson took a team with virtually no Hall of Famers, 2 championships. So I don't know, man. It's all subjective, but I'm in agreement with you that I would really like to see a list where we're saying who athletic,
yes.
not necessarily athlete or professional or dominating. Who's the greatest? Who are the top athletic professional athletes or whatever of all time? And I like to see that list.
I think that's a great list, and I think we would find more females on that list as well.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, well, ladies and gentlemen, we're a little bit over, but we wanted to make sure we got this in. We appreciate it and hope you'll be back with us again soon.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, why is victory sweet? Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit in the street and watch from a distance, but over time I grew. If I put in the work, in no time I'm due. Everything that I worked and prayed, I'm okay. If you ask me, how did I do it, I'm gon' say you gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work. 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 You gotta work.